What is up, you guys? My name is Coach Magali. If this is your first video of mine, welcome. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for being here. And in today's video, I'm going to talk about how to build an effective, simple, easy to follow upper body routine, especially for those of you who are beginners or aren't quite sure if you're doing your upper body routines correctly. So this is a great place to start. If you enjoy content like this, where I go over tips and tricks on working out, making your workouts more effective, busting the BS myths that you don't need to be worrying about, then do subscribe down below so you don't miss any of my future videos on all topics relating to weight loss and building muscle. Like the video letting me know you enjoy content like this so that I can make more, and also to let the YouTube algorithm know. I would appreciate your support in that. And without further ado, let's break down how to get an effective upper body routine every single time. First thing that you want to do when you get to the gym is obviously warm up and prepare yourself for the workout. You don't want to just walk into a gym and go from nothing right into your workout. You want to have some sort of preparation, not only physically but mentally. But a lot of people overcomplicate this. So let me make this super simple. You're going to start with 3 to 5 minutes on some sort of cardio machine because you want your heart rate up, you want your overall body temperature to go up, get all of your muscles warmed up in some way. The goal here is not to get you super fatigued and to go super fast, but it also isn't like you're just cruising and chilling. Like, you want to get your heart rate up, you want to be sweating a little bit, maybe a little bit out of breath, but again, you're not going for all out intensity either. Once you're done with the cardio, you're going to move on to some dynamic stretches, something like arm circles or over the head stretches. Just a couple movements that make you feel a little bit good, loosen things up, and just get you prepared for the training session. This is highly personal. There is not like a one routine that you need to follow. It's all really just depending on what aches and pains do you have, what goals do you have, what do you feel good doing, what helps to prepare you personally for your workouts is going to be fine. The point of a warm-up though is to get you prepared physically and mentally, but not exhaust you before you even start. So whatever warm-up you do, whatever exercises or routines that you follow, just make sure you stick to that rule. So now that you've completed your warm-up, it's time to get into the actual training session. But before we get into that, I'm going to separate the two different types of exercises you want to be doing for your upper body on a weekly basis. If you follow these two types of exercises, you're going to get results. So the first kind of exercise is your compound upper body lifts. So these are the exercises that make up the foundation of your upper body training. They train multiple muscle groups at the same time. Every single upper body session should have these 4 main lifts in order to effectively get all of the upper body muscles to work, get stronger. Then we have our accessory and isolation exercises. These are the exercises that are assisting the muscles that work in the compound lifts. They're a lot more detailed. They only work out one muscle group at one time. Typically, you want to start your session with the foundational 4 because they are harder, they are heavier, they involve more fatigue. And as the session goes on, when you're losing more and more energy, you're doing the lighter stuff, the more isolated movements. To get an effective upper body session and just training in general, you want to be doing both of these exercises, with the majority of your training being those compound 4. You typically want to have your 4 foundational compound lifts and then 2 to 3 accessory/isolation exercises. A good effective upper body session should only really be about 6 to 7 exercises long. Not very long. It's not a lot of things because we focus more on quality over quantity. So that's going to be your 4 foundationals and 2 to 3 accessories/isolation exercises. So let's get into the 4 compound lifts, how to do them, a couple different examples, a little bit about each one so that you know why you're doing it and what the purpose is behind it. So the first compound lift is the shoulder press, also known as the overhead press, also known as a vertical press or a vertical push. Because it is going above your head, it is primarily using the shoulders, but your chest and triceps are also assisting in this lift. These are the 3 main pushing muscles involved in our training. I typically like to start with an overhead press before anything else because they're very difficult. It's very hard to get the weight above your head. So you want to do this when you have the most energy at the beginning of your workout. Whether you're doing dumbbells, whether you're doing a machine version, it doesn't really matter. This is typically the hardest exercise to do, so you want to get it done earlier on in the session, preferably first if you can. Now, of course, this depends if the gym is busy and what equipment you have, but ideally you would get this one done first when you have the most energy. The next exercise is a vertical pull down, also known as a lat pull down, but it's also pull-ups. So pull downs and pull-ups are the same motion, it's just what's moving is different. So in pull downs, you're pulling that weight towards you. With pull-ups, you're pulling yourself towards the weight, which is gravity. We are pulling ourselves closer to that weight. Primarily in pull downs, it's again said, it's a pull motion. The pulling muscles are our back muscle, and there's a couple of them, but primarily pull downs target more of the lats, so the outer part of the back, and the biceps. I like to do pull downs right after a pressing motion because it's opposite muscles. In the push, we did chest, triceps, and shoulders with the shoulder press. Now we're going to a pull motion to give those muscles a break while we're working on the pull. That now brings us to our second pushing motion, which is a chest press, also known as a horizontal press, horizontal push. And as the name implies, it's involving most of our chest. But again, the chest press is also involving our triceps and our shoulders, just as the shoulder press was as well. So you're getting the same muscles worked out, just from a slightly different angle, which is why it's important to do both of them. You don't just want to do one variation, just shoulder press or just chest press, because that's going to neglect the muscles from different fibers that are going to be hit by the different types of exercises. Something to keep in mind also is we're talking about flat versus flat, right? So flat chest press, flat shoulder press. We also know that there's a wide range of incline presses that we can do. So basically the rule of thumb is the more straight up you are, the more shoulder it's going to involve. The more lower to being flat, the more chest it's going to be. So this is also a pressing motion. You can substitute with one of these, bias it towards the one that you're trying to work on. So if you're doing an incline chest press, you want to stay about 45 degrees or lower. If you want to do an incline shoulder press, 45 degrees and higher. And that's how you determine what angle you do these at. But it's still a pressing motion, it's still a pushing motion, it's still part of your compound four. It's just a slightly different variation compared to traditional flat chest or shoulder presses. And then the last one of the four main exercises is the horizontal row, horizontal pull, or also known as the row. The row is also a pulling motion, so it also involves our biceps and our back, but because our arms are closer to our body and we are pulling horizontally, we now target more of the mid back compared to the lats. Vertical pull downs and rows work out both the back and the biceps, and even the lats and the mid back. It's just the percentage is going to be a little bit different. So like I said, the pull downs are more for lats, for the outer part of the back and the biceps, and then rows are more for the middle of the back and biceps. Again, there's many different variations, different ways to hold the bars, and I'm not going to get into all of that. Ultimately, as long as you're doing one type of row and one type of pull down, you're golden. It's also a pull motion, which is why we're doing it right after the chest press, after we just did push, to give our pushing muscles a break and work on our pull muscles again. And those make up the foundation of your upper body training. Those four, if you do them 2 times a week, it's gonna be more than enough. Why we do accessories and why we're gonna do a little bit extra is because some of us want very defined arms, triceps, we wanna work on our biceps, we wanna pop our shoulders out, and because of that, they're gonna need a little bit more specific work. And also, assistance and accessory work helps support your main lift. So if you build your shoulders and your triceps, your pressing is going to get better. If you build your biceps and your back, your pulling is going to get better. You're going to become stronger and more effective. So they all kind of work together. It's just they're separate because the compound main lifts require more energy, a little more skill, a little more practice, and then the isolation stuff, again, just targets one muscle group at a time, and it works to support the main lifts and also focus in on specific areas that you want to work on, like I said, such as our shoulders, our triceps, or our biceps. That's all you have to do for your upper body sessions. So 2 times is perfect. If you're trying to really grow your upper body or really progress and just get better at it quicker, you're probably going to see better results by doing 2 separate upper body sessions versus splitting the structure into 2 separate full body days. But if that's the split that you're following, you can still see really great results. You can still get really good progress. Answering the question, how many sets, how many reps, what weight do I start at? All of that is super subjective, and it's incredibly difficult for me to be able to answer that because not only does it depend on the person, their starting level, their strength, but also what machine we're using. This is something that I don't think a lot of people realize, is that different machines, even though they do the exact same thing, if they're made by a different brand, or maybe even the same brand, just a different type of machine, it's gonna feel a lot different than what 20 pounds would feel on that one. So that one, 20 pounds might be super heavy, and on another machine, a very similar machine, you can do 50. And that is completely normal, considering that we're all so different, and it depends on the starting level, the strength, all of those good things. I can't really recommend as an exact starting weight, an exact starting intensity. Err on the side of caution if you're just starting out out and you want to practice your form and you want to get better, which you should, and then as you get better and better, then you can increase the weight and you can increase the intensity, because you do have to be able to do this right before you even think about making it harder, because that's when people get hurt, they pull things, it just doesn't go well. In terms of sets and reps, so this is again a range. I can't tell you exactly how much to do of what. There are so many factors that determine that, but you typically want to stay between 3 and 5 sets, 6 to 15 reps, maybe even 20 at some points. I wouldn't go above 20. I think you're better off just increasing the weight and doing less reps, and then resting between 2 and 4 minutes between each set of an exercise. Why you want to rest so long is because if you're doing your intensity correctly, which again I'll get into a minute, you're going to need that rest to recover and then be able to come and attack that next set with just as much intensity. If you're doing it circuit style and you're going really, really quickly and you're not really resting, it means you're not pushing hard enough, or you're doing it very wrong, because our bodies cannot keep that intensity up without a break. So you'll know if you're going way too easy on yourself if you genuinely don't feel the need to rest after your set and you can keep going like full on out intensity. That's a good sign that you're probably going a little bit easy on yourself. Now, when it comes to programming and how to move throughout a month or 2 months or 3 months of training with this structure, you want your upper body routines to be a little bit different. Every time you do an upper body session in a week, you want the routine to be a little bit different from the previous one. What I mean by that is, for example, on upper body session number 1, which you do on Monday, let's say you do a dumbbell shoulder press. Upper body number 2, you want to do a machine shoulder press or a barbell shoulder press, a slightly different variation of what you did on Monday. But again, the movement itself is the same. It is an overhead press. You're just using a different tool and a different variation to target the muscle in a little bit of a different way. It's better to have a little bit of variety. Your muscles get a little bit more work from more angles, better results. The thing though is every week you want it to be the same for about 4 to 8 weeks. So what you do on Monday, you're going to repeat the next Monday, you're going to repeat the next Monday for 4 to 8 weeks. Why that long? Your body needs time to progress, to get better, to get used to something, to grow and adapt. And if you're always changing your workouts every single week and you're never having any sort of consistency, your body doesn't have anything to focus on. It doesn't have anything that's repeating. We know that results come from repetition, right? With anything in life, the same applies to our training. It doesn't mean you're going to keep the exact same routine forever and ever and ever. That's why we have the time frame of 4 to 8 weeks to give you enough time to practice and master those skills. But then again, you have a time frame to switch things up and try something different. The backbone of your upper body workout does not change. It doesn't need to. You do your main 4 and you do your accessories. What changes is just the exact variation you're doing, and it doesn't mean that you have to change everything either. If you're progressing really well on, let's say, your barbell bent over rows for upper body session number 1, and you don't really feel like you're plateauing, you don't really feel like you need to change it, then you keep that one in the rotation for the next 4 to 8 weeks. And you repeat that cycle over and over and over and over again, and eventually you get stronger. It's nice to have that 4 to 8 week period to look forward to if you're getting a little bored and you want some variety, but sooner than that, it's too soon. You're not going to have enough time to master these skills. It's going to hold you back in terms of progress. So variety within a week, consistency week after week, 4 to 8 weeks, reassess and change things up if you feel like you need it. So now that we have the structure, we know what we're training, we know what our plan is going to look like for the next 4 to 8 weeks. How do we actually ensure that we're making progress? This is probably one of the most misunderstood concepts when it comes to training and building muscle, is we need to be training intense, you guys. And I don't mean go into the gym as a beginner, lift 100 pounds and hurt yourself. Absolutely not. Number 1 comes perfecting your form, and it really helps to work with a professional in this because they can really look out for things that you might be missing and eventually could later come back and bite you in the ass if you don't fix now. But assuming you take the time to learn your form and you've gotten really good at it and you feel very confident, then you have to push yourself. So every time you walk into the gym, your thought should be, what can I do a little bit better today than I did last time? And at first, when you're getting familiar with these exercises, you're learning how to do them correctly, you're practicing your form, you're working with the trainer, you're not gonna be increasing your weight every single time. At first, there's gonna be your intensity. At first, it's gonna be maximizing the form, making little tweaks, making improvements in your balance, and just overall feeling more confident in what you're doing. But at some point, once you've mastered master that portion of it and you feel pretty confident with what you're doing, your sets now should be very difficult. They should be very challenging. And this is a part that people severely overestimate how difficult their training is, because they have never really pushed their training to true failure. And you're supposed to be just below that. We don't want to be going all the way to failure. So think you keep going until you physically cannot anymore. You don't have to go that hard. In fact, you shouldn't, because that can lead to injuries and things like that. But you want to get close. You want to be really close to that. And the only way to know that you're doing that is if every time you're going to the gym, you're pushing yourself a little bit more. So the two questions you want to ask: what exercises can I try to improve my weight today, or my reps? Those are the two markers that are going to determine if we're progressively overloading. And that's the key to building muscle, you guys, is over time we're progressively loading more and more and more in terms of adding more weight or adding more reps. Now, of course, keep in mind that you're not always going to improve every single thing every single time, but you should be able to progress in at least one or two exercises. By how much you increase, again, that depends on how the exercise feels, your energy levels for the day. It's not a very simple question for me to answer, but you should be able to feel that set was easy. I had more in me. Let me try more weight. Let me try more reps. But you should aim for it. You should try to do a little bit more. And eventually you do that over and over and over again. And that's how the muscle adapts. And then it's forced to grow. And that's ultimately how you do it. Over the course of those 4 to 8 weeks that you have the same plan, every week you walk in, you're going to do more weight or more reps, and you're going to keep a log of this so that you can keep track of what you're doing. We're horrible at remembering stuff. We learned this in grade school. You have to have a place where you can put this information so that you can reference it as needed, and make sure that every week we're doing a little more, little more, little more. And you basically do that for the rest of your life. You don't ever have to change the structure of your upper body workouts, meaning you do your core 4 and then the accessories. It's just, what exactly am I training this month? What are the exercises I want to focus on? How can I improve every week by adding more weight or adding more reps? There is no magical secret rep number. There is no magical weight number. There is no magical anything. The magic is, are we doing more every week? That's it. And you make sure that gets checked yes every week. That's how people build muscle. That's how people get strong. That's how people see results in the gym. Make sure you write down your workouts, you guys. I don't understand how people still don't do this. You don't have the brain capacity to remember what you did last week. And if our brain does not have a visible reminder of what we did, we're going to choose the lighter weight. We're going to choose what we feel is hard. But if on paper 50 pounds last week was easy, you know to start at 60. Instead of going at 50, doing a couple of reps, and then be like, oh, this feels easy, I could have done more. You would have already known that if you had your notes. So don't skip that. Write your notes, write your notes. Put it on your notes app, put it on a journal, whatever works for you. Just make sure you write it down. And so that's basically it, you guys. It's a very simple process. It's just about consistently going at it with the mentality of, how can I do a little more? How can I push myself a little more? Working towards that. You're not gonna have great workouts all of the time and progress on anything sometimes. That's okay. Just the next week, attack it with the same mentality, and you do that over and over again, and your body will eventually respond. And that concludes how to build an effective, easy to follow, minimal upper body routine that is still insanely effective, and it's going to be awesome for upper body gains. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful. I hope it provided you some tools, some tips and tricks that you didn't know, and maybe helped you understand the upper body training process a little bit better. Again, especially if you're a beginner, if you're just starting out, take things light, go easy on yourself at first while you get familiar with things. But once you feel that confidence, once you feel like you know what you're doing, and again, it sometimes helps to have a professional in your corner for this, that's when the fun starts and we really start pushing. To learn an exercise or to really master it, it takes a while depending on how hard it is. You should be aiming to just get a little bit better every time, and with enough practice, enough consistency, you'll get there. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you know somebody who's struggling with their upper body routine or is just starting out and you know this video would help them, then please do me a favor and send it their way. It does help me spread my message out to more people and hopefully help more people in the process. Make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss any future uploads on topics such as this, nutrition, weight loss, and all of that stuff. Like the video before you go. Thanks again so much, you guys. I will see you in the next video. Peace out.